The Center for Special Needs Trust Administration is permanently shut down, and now a federal judge has determined that Leo Gavani is liable for more than $120 million in missing money taken from disabled people and their families. This home is owned by a Pasco County fire rescue firefighter, and he did not evacuate until he took care of his neighbors yesterday, and now his brotherhood. Pasco County firefighters are showing up for him. Former Representative Debbie Mucarsel-Powell says her story is one that's resonating with many Floridians as someone whose family fled from gun violence in her home country of Ecuador. We're in the eye of Hurricane Milton right now. It is spooky. It is eerie. Take a look at this palm tree. It is completely calm out here. It's a stark difference than just about an hour ago. A federal bankruptcy judge seized control of Leo Gavani's big storm entities. Gavani was prohibited from conducting any business at all since January 13th, but court records show he ignored those orders. It's been 9 days since Zakiria Bell died while in state custody. Her family still has no answers as to how it happened, but whatever happened sparked the state to shut down the facility. The damage out here on Hernando Beach is extensive. Just to give you perspective, these two boats were properly secured ahead of Hurricane Helene, and now look at them. One toppled onto the property, the other is dangling from the dock. We're talking about so-called veneer techs popping up all over social media, including here in the Bay Area. They often promise a full set of veneers for less than half of what dentists typically charge. This is our first look here on Bradenton Beach, and FDOT crews need to be able to roam freely without traffic to clean up all of the debris and the mess. And this is why, because these mounds of sand piled everywhere. It looks like a snowdrift. The property management company just took ownership of this building 15 days ago. They say Hurricane Helene did some major damage to this building, now renamed the Barclay at Pasadena. If you're one of the many Floridians who battled with your insurance company after last year's hurricanes, this report may have made you angry. Now a nationwide advocacy group argues it's time to turn that anger into action.
We're watching from the doorbell camera, and we see the water start coming up in the road, in the driveway, on the porch. We saw fish swimming around on our porch.
When Byron Simpson returned to his West Shore home following Hurricane Helene,
there was about a foot of water in the house.
Simpson quickly contacted his insurer and filed a claim, and then the waiting game began.
I got an initial small payment, I would say within a week of the initial filing, but that was only enough to get the drywall started and the door repair started.
Simpson says he was forced to take out a line of credit from his retirement fund to continue the repairs.
I'm still fighting with the insurance company.
Simpson has a new reason to feel frustrated. An internal analysis by Florida's Office of Insurance Regulation that became public just weeks ago found that top insurance companies have been ripping off Floridians. The report reveals that from 2017 through 2019, after Hurricanes Irma and Michael, Florida insurers paid $680 million to shareholders and transferred billions in profits to affiliate companies, all while claiming to be broke.
Where did all that money go? And now this report is the smoking gun that shows it. It's been shifted over to their affiliates, up through the holding company, and to their investor owners.
Doug Quinn is the executive director of the American Policyholder Association, which advocates for insurance customers. Last October, after an investigative report revealed some Florida policyholders may have been denied payouts on legitimate claims after Hurricane Ian, Quinn says the APA contacted Florida regulators to demand a criminal investigation of insurance companies doing business in the state. 2 years later, Quinn says there have been no fines, no arrests, and no explanation why.
How are they allowed to do that? Where are the Florida regulators and the Florida law enforcement who is supposed to be protecting the citizens of Florida?
As for Florida's Office of Insurance Regulation, a spokesperson tells 8 on Your Side the agency continues to advocate for more oversight of insurers, despite not sharing their own report with state lawmakers. For homeowners like Byron Simpson, who paid premiums year after year only to feel abandoned by their insurance company when they needed them the most, it's just not enough.
I think there's a lot to be done investigating what's happening with insurance companies, because we need to maintain a level of insurance in Florida and have them held responsible for the monies that they're given, to be honest brokers with that, and when the need arises, to pay those monies back out.
Following the release of the study, lawmakers are calling on Governor Ron DeSantis for accountability and an investigation into Florida insurance companies. A huge showing of support from the ATF, who filled up the courtroom, and many were left outside because it was packed inside, all in support of Special Agent Matt Murray and his family. Agent Murray is still in the hospital tonight, fighting for his life.
It's like we walked into an ambush.
Investigators say ATF Special Agent Matt Murray was shot in his neck.
That's the guy right in front of you?
Yes.
This surveillance video shows it all unfolded on Friday night while he was leaving the alley at South Shore on Big Bend Road with his wife, Courtney Murray, their 2 kids, and their friends when they noticed a fight with another group.
And it was automatically them trying to start a fight, and then my husband was trying to de-escalate it right from the start.
While on the witness stand, Murray says her husband went over to the group to intervene.
He was telling him just to go home. He said, I'm law enforcement, you guys just need to leave. I had mentioned that he was law enforcement. We have kids.
An overnight 7-hour manhunt ended with the arrest of 18-year-old Christopher Smith. Court records show Smith drove to a home 4 miles away where he was arrested on multiple felony charges, including attempted first-degree murder. And this is the moment you could see Murray pointing directly at Smith after she was asked to identify the suspect who shot her husband.
Is that person in the courtroom here today?
Yes.
Can you point to them and identify them by an article of clothing?
Yes, in the red.
What I can tell you is he's going to be held accountable. He's 18 years old, but he is facing up to life in prison, including a 25-year mandatory minimum prison sentence.
State Attorney Susie Lopez says the weapon has not yet been recovered, but investigators are searching for it.
Now we have a gun that's been used to paralyze an ATF agent is still somewhere out on the street.
Smith's public defender says the state will now have to prove probable cause, and it comes as Special Agent Murray is left fighting.
He's in ICU in critical condition from paralysis.
The lead detective on this case says Christopher Smith admitted to the shooting. We wanted to give Leo Gavani the chance himself to give us his side of the story about those missing millions. Instead, he ignored my questions and drove off without saying a word. But tonight, the families who counted on Gavani and his now bankrupt company have plenty to say.
Mr. Gavani, this is Brittany Muller with Channel 8. Where's the money?
Pinellas County businessman Leo Gavani looking very different from the clean-shaven corporate headshots we've seen of him in the past.
What would you say to the disabled people who relied on you?
For months, Aid on Your Side has reached out to Gavani and his representatives, hoping to track down the millions in missing money meant to help disabled people, including families right here in the Bay Area.
Have you heard from the FBI? Is this theft?
But Gavani ignored our questions last Thursday as he exited a Clearwater Bank branch and drove away.
We're trying to chase old Leo down. Yes, we are.
Gavani's refusal to talk is beyond frustrating for Teresa Schlosser.
I can see you shaking right now.
I am so furious that he has been allowed to get away with this. Anybody else would be in jail.
Schlosser says her daughter Sarah is missing nearly $200,000 from her special needs trust.
Oh, don't cry, honey. It's all right. Don't cry. I promise. It's all right.
A trust that came out of a car crash when Sarah was 18 and 10 weeks pregnant. The money was placed at St. Petersburg's Center for Special Needs Trust Administration to pay for medical necessities like a much-needed wheelchair.
She has been confined to this bed for a year.
A federal judge found center founder Leo Gavani liable for $120 million in missing money, nearly a year after the nonprofit filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Leo Gavani has not been charged with a crime, but the FBI tells 8 on Your Side this is still an ongoing investigation, and the FBI does not discuss actions taken in the course of a criminal investigation.
If investigators were watching right now, what would you say to them?
How do you go to bed at night and not have arrested the man that is destroying over 1,500 lives?
Schlosser is left horrified, and she's not the only one. Hundreds of families are left wondering how they'll provide for their loved ones' future care.
We have nothing right now. We are all reaching for straws, and there is not a straw to be found for any of us. It's not fair, it's not right, and the fact that I can see him on film outside a bank, that means that he's got money in there. But whose money is it?
6 days ago, the attorney representing Leo Gavani and his company, Boston Finance Group, told the court she would no longer serve as Gavani's legal counsel. We reached out to that attorney, Laura Fernandez, with Trenum Law. So far, we have not heard back. While the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office says medical examiner ruled Zakiria Bell's death a suicide, her family tells me they've been hearing a different story from the Department of Children and Families. With each passing day, they say they just want closure. Zakiria Bell was expected to return home on her 18th birthday, August 10th.
We're going to do her birthday party. It's her birthday party and coming home just like I promised her I would do, and everything that she wanted for that dinner.
Sophia Bing says her niece Zakiria died at Lake Academy, a state-owned facility in Tampa, nearly 2 months ago. It's sites like this one that are entrusted to care for our most vulnerable youth.
To this day, I can't understand how you can string a family along so long and with no answers without telling them anything other than, oh, we got a criminal investigation.
The Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office says the medical examiner has ruled Zakiria's death a suicide. But Bing says the family hasn't been told that and questions what really happened based on what the Department of Children and Families has told them.
What has come back to us was that by no means do they think that she did this to herself, that there's a criminal investigation going on between the different agencies. And that's all we know.
Days after Zakiria's death, the Department of Juvenile Justice shut down the site.
What does that tell you?
It took my niece losing her life for you to go in and try to get answers to something that should have been done a long time ago from the information that we're getting.
The DJJ also says it terminated the provider's $31.5 million contract for Lake Academy. That provider was TrueCore Behavioral Solutions, which is headquartered in Tampa.
TrueCore is still running several other facilities in Hillsborough County, as well as even more across the state of Florida.
I think they all should be shut down, not just one. Why would you just shut one down just because you lost a kid at that facility? Who's to say the other ones aren't running the same way and those kids aren't suffering?
TrueCore has since hired Tucker Hall, a crisis public relations firm, to represent them. When I asked questions, their response was TrueCore doesn't have any updates right now.
I don't know. We need closure. We need closure. And either way, we're gonna have to accept it. Even if it was self, which I don't believe. If that was the case, then God knows we gotta accept it. And if it was the other way, we gotta accept that too.
As Zakiria's family desperately pleads for closure, they have this message for other families with children in state-owned treatment programs like Lake Academy.
Parents, check on your kids. Make sure your kids are safe in there if you're gonna keep them in there. Start asking questions. Get more in depth with what's going on with where your kids are.
At this time, Hillsborough County has not yet released Zakiria Bell's autopsy report, but I have obtained the medical examiner's initial case summary report. It says Zakiria was last seen on May 29th at 6:30 p.m. by staff who claimed she was argumentative and refusing to go into her room for the night. Then about a half hour later, 911 was called. The Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office as well as paramedics responded. Zakiria was transported to the hospital where she died an hour later. In the report, the cause of death has been redacted, but again, I've been told by the Sheriff's Office that her death has been ruled a suicide.